Today, we're talking about how to get promoted. This is what career advancement looks like at Wilson, but also just to the external world, here's how we think about recruiting leaders. 30 or 40% of the team has been promoted through the organization.
Do you have a passion to lead? And do you have a passion to want to do more and take more responsibility? Because great success in your role doesn't automatically translate to great success as a leader.
Welcome back to Owned and Operated. Today on the show, I have Brandon Niro, president of Wilson. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back to round two.
Welcome back, round two. This will be good. Today, we're talking about how to get promoted. So this is kind of a fun topic. We haven't done this yet, I think, ever on the show. So the idea here, like who we're thinking about explaining this to, or sort of sending this episode to, is our own internal team. Hey, this is what career advancement looks like at Wilson. This is how you can think about getting promoted. But also just to the external world, here's how we think about recruiting leaders.
I think it'd be cool too to talk like through the multiple tiers, right? Not even just leaders, but how do you work like when we're talking about apprentices, right? How do they fast track through?
Oh, yeah.
All the way up and through into that leadership style. Because it's very clear that the ones that have, especially from field side, like some of them have been apprentices with us. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
One of the most common and expensive mistakes that I see in acquisitions in the home service space is not getting serious about accounting. Whether you're buying a business or you're already running one, you need the right financial partner to save you time, money, and headaches. That's why we partnered with Appletree Business Services. They are a one-stop shop that'll help you get through the due diligence process, but then they'll partner with you after to help you out with payroll and bookkeeping and taxes. They know home services. They're fluent in tools like ServiceTitan and HouseCall Pro. If you're tired of the surprise tax bills or an accountant who ghosts you when you really need them, Appletree's the upgrade you deserve. Listeners of the show can get a free tax and financial review, and if you're buying a business, they'll give you 10% off quality of earnings. Just head on over to appletreebusiness.com, talk to Patrick, click the link, let them know Jack sends you, and they will take care of you.
So where do you want to start?
I mean, why don't we start like right at the beginning, right? Apprentice, like straight in the field, baseline, right?
Yeah.
So I guess for me,
So I started today as an apprentice.
oh, okay. I won't use names, but I'm thinking of somebody specifically on our electric team who's just like a shining example of that, right? And he came in actually even before apprenticeship, knew nothing about the trades at all. Pretty sure was in nursing or something along those lines, medical field, but wanted to get in the trades. It was interesting to see someone like this because they were wildly motivated to learn, and they started in the warehouse.
Yes.
Was getting to know the parts, understanding how the trades operate in general. But from day one, he made it very clear. And I think that's kind of the underlining that you'll see across every
single
thing we'll see is they made it very clear their goal was to progress through the company.
Yeah. Well, I think something like, we should get the actual percentage. I bet we could pull this report on Paylocity.
Yeah.
But something like 30 or 40% of the team has been promoted through the organization.
Yeah.
And at this point, every single person on the team that is in a senior leadership position started lower.
Yeah.
Like, no one was recruited in just for that.
Yeah, wow, that is kind of crazy. I'm thinking through all
Every
this.
single person. Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Right.
Yeah, we've really, I would say in the last year and a half, have really matured. I still think we have a long way to go, but I think we've really matured like upward mobility inside the business.
Yeah.
Where there's more of a clear path. Now, I think where we need to get better is like displaying it.
Yes.
Like putting it on the wall, like here's where, and we're actively working on that, like your future with Wilson.
Yeah.
We have like people in leadership that were apprentices 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the time, like you said, when it's not clearly documented, the part of the challenge is not only do they have to clearly want it, they have to very clearly say they want it and make that known.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is not currently a very clear path to get there.
Right.
So the ones that have to date have been very outspoken in their career ambitions.
Right.
So it would be interesting to see what that looks like for someone who maybe doesn't know who to voice it to or how to voice that, but shows the clear intention or desire to grow. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah. So I think the lesson there is like wherever you are inside the organization, like if you want to grow, communicate it.
Yes. Communicate it, make it known,
Yeah.
And like you said, the cool part specifically with us is that our leadership team has come from there. So they've gone through this. So reaching out to your managers super easy because they've also gone through that process.
Almost all of our frontline leaders were promoted.
Yeah. So they can be the mentor of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with him specifically, right? Through the warehouse, understood the materials, got in the apprenticeship, and I think in a stereotypical apprenticeship, you expect several years, maybe even 4 or 5 years, to become a competent, whatever it is, electrician, plumber. Yeah. But he excelled extremely fast through it. But that was again intentionally asking to get out of the warehouse into apprenticeship, and then routinely in the apprenticeship asking to do more, asking to get hands-on tools, asking his leads to step out of the way and let him do the installs, and they confirm that he's doing it correct. It was very intentional, I think, throughout that entire process of let me do more, show me how to do more, which I thought was really cool.
I think I can think of a couple examples of an HVAC that, their apprenticeship was under a year to lead, which that is fast. That's fast.
But again, I think the underlying one of that,
they pushed.
Sounding like a broken record, they pushed.
Yeah, we didn't have to push.
Yeah.
We just sort of pulled.
Yeah, I think the put the ladder out clearly makes sense, but I almost enjoy that. If the ladder's there, you still have to push, right? But the path on where to push is more clear. But I think that's always going to be what I'm going to look for is someone who's pushing for it. I don't want to have to pull somebody into it. I want them to have the desire to do it.
Yeah.
And then we'll show you the way.
Well, I think the alternative, and I'm just putting this out there, and this is definitely one of the reasons why I think we can improve. We had someone put in their resignation earlier this week to go to a position that we have and that we would have hired for if he had expressed his interest.
Yeah.
And so now we're obviously trying to work on that and bring him into that. But I think that is one of the benefits of a well laid out ladder is hey, here's where you can go, so that people understand hey, I don't have to leave to go pursue my next career opportunity. We have 170 people in this building. There is another seat that you can fill if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think, the clear path of the ladder makes sense, right? And how do you display that? Maybe even before somebody's looking, just how do we make that known publicly that there is paths forward?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other part of that too is the kind of the beauty of our task pay process, right? Is if you don't want leadership, there's still a clear path to advance your life financially too. So it's not the only path forward is management.
Yeah.
You can move into just a highly compensated
individual contributor.
Yeah.
Almost more so. I mean, that is the path to more.
Yeah. Yeah. So on the through apprenticeship, right? At that point, there's really not a knowledge gap I'm looking for of, do you have the capabilities to do so? It's a get a want capacity to do it. Do you want it is really what I'm looking for. Do you have the desire to grow? Do you have the capacity to grow? You probably don't get it yet because you don't really know what the position entails, but your desire to learn it is there.
Yeah.
I think where that starts to change is the lead into some form or fashion of a management role, right? Because then I'm looking for what are your instincts in the field. It's you kind of have to. You don't really get it yet, but you're doing things inadvertently that are clear displays of leadership.
Or you're trying to understand.
Yeah.
You're trying to be thoughtful about, maybe 101 stuff, but stuff you can control, waste on jobs or are the apprentices needed or, I think being a little thoughtful and maybe stepping slightly outside of yourself is probably the best way to put that. Someone that would be, I would not consider immediately for a leadership position. If every single time I'm talking to them, they're only focused on their very narrow scope of vision. That's amazing. You're going to be an amazing individual contributor, but if you can't see past just you for the team or the company or the other teams that are impacted by whatever you're doing that day, that's hard to train.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a clear indicator too from the leadership class that we have right now.
Yeah.
Is everybody in that group is that type of person to where it's very clear. You can see in the warehouse in the morning, right? They're not just worried about their materials and their job. They're checking on their teammates. They're the ones pushing everybody out the door. They're the ones kind of being the rah-rah in the morning. And they weren't in the leadership class yet. They were chosen because of that. And they're the people making sure that the young ones who are fresh out of apprenticeship into leads, feel good in the morning. They got their stuff. They're set up. Maybe they walk through a job with them, take a look through the photos with them, just kind of help them feel comfortable. They weren't asked to do that. And that to me is like, that's a clear indicator of, okay, you have leadership potential and you may not even know that. You're not doing that to, display, not, trying to show off your skill set to somebody. That's just you have a genuine passion to make sure that your team is set up for success and you're not even directly benefiting from it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Clear indicator from everybody we have in the class right now is exactly that.
Let's talk about the emerging leaders class, because I think that might help. Like explain it a little bit. So what is the emerging leaders class?
Yeah.
When did we start it? What's inside it? Why do we do it?
So we started it, the first cohort of that was in February of this year. It's a 52-week class, so year long, and it is intended to go through the 101s of leadership. Now, it goes into depth from everything from emotional intelligence to just the basics of what's the difference between leadership and management. So those are two very distinct portions, and you have to be good at both of them. We get financial literacy conversation, a deep understanding of what financial statements are, things like a P&L. How does
you guys are breaking out P&Ls right now?
Yeah, it's cool because I get to touch a real life P&L.
Yeah, I think you said they're like working with our May P&L.
Yeah,
and like some decision making and like,
they're
what did you do here? Like we missed on gross margin, so like how would you touch materials?
Yeah, they're actively participating alongside our current leadership team. In June, working on May's P&L. Okay, here was the issues, and here's the resolutions we're putting in place in June to solve those. So it's cool that they get hands-on with that, right? And it's not just a theoretical, what would you do, or a fake P&L for something that we just kind of make up. It's this is what you actually participated in, and the changes and the game plan you're going to come up with, you're actually going to feel in the field because you're putting it to play in real life. But the classes, like I said, it's designed to get you up to speed. Now, we have plumbers, we have HVAC technicians, electrical, admin staff in there as well too. The goal is not that they get trained specifically. A plumber is not only going to be a plumbing sales manager and install manager. The course is designed that you could go through any one of our leadership positions, right? A plumber maybe, gets into marketing in some way, or in HR, whatever it might be, right? But the goal is that you are trained on the Wilson way, and you are trained on the leadership 101s that you can then apply to that role. So you still have to learn the individual role, right, of sales versus install versus admin, whatever it might be. But nonetheless, the leadership that we expect, the style of leadership, is the same across every department.
Yeah.
Financial literacy is the same. But that gives you the framework to work off of. So when you do step into that role, you're learning the role itself and not also how to be a leader at the same exact time. Yeah. So it's just a much easier onboarding process for them. And they can get up to speed a lot faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's it take to get in an emerging leader
program? Exactly what we talked about before, right? Is I'm looking for people who are ambitiously pursuing it. From that point, we sit down and have a conversation about what are their career objectives. What do they want to do? Where do they see themselves in 2 years, 5 years from now? I want to understand what their passion is and understand, is it a monetarily based thing or is it a career development side? Because sometimes it's not always the right fit. Sometimes it is.
Yeah, I mean, if it's money, like in sales or install, individual contribution is the way to maximize the dollars.
Yeah, if your career is not specifically tied to, I want to lead and I want to build a career around leadership, it might not be the best fit. If it's monetarily based, like sales is the way to do that. But if it is, hey, I want to build a career around leadership. I have a passion for leading. I have a passion for developing others. Great. Leadership is a good potential for that. Now, we look outside of we're looking for raw potential, but then we're also looking for that commitment. It is 52 weeks. It is at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's in the middle of the week. I'm looking for, the people who are willing to commit to that, be on time, be here every week, willing to learn and willing to participate in things that are very much outside their comfort zone. Every single week, we cover a topic. And every single week, we are acting through role plays, live play scenarios, group work activities. So it's going to put them outside their comfort zone. So I'm looking for someone who's prepared to go through that process and kind of be vulnerable and talk about things that maybe they wouldn't normally talk about. Especially like, for example, I think it was almost 12 weeks worth of emotional intelligence topics that we go through. A lot of that's frankly, vulnerable. We're talking about how to actively communicate with your team, how to go through those kind of challenging situations that you might be presented with when you're working through a individual contributing one-on-one. Maybe they're going through something personally. How do you help navigate that so they can be successful in a career and in their personal life?
Yeah.
So it requires people in that class to become open and vulnerable and have those conversations. So again, we're looking for people who are willing to explore that and be open to it. From there, it's a conversation of, hey, understanding that it's more than just your trade or the department you're in. This is an opportunity for you to look at things across the entire company. When we go multi-location, right? It's no longer just plumbing or HVAC or electric. It could be a general managing position. It could be in the warehouse. We really don't know. But what are your career aspirations on that side? Is it just anything? Are you really tied to the trade? What are you looking for there? We talk about timelines. It's what that looks like. How no positions are guaranteed, but you're looking for.
I think this is the most delicate part.
Yeah.
Because what we've learned just historically is like, if you don't handle it well, which I think we're handling it well now.
Yeah.
But if you don't handle it well, internal promotions are almost, as the HR or from the executive team down, are more intimidating than external because people feel like they got passed over.
Yes.
So you have to be really cautious. So the way that we've been approaching that now is, hey, if we're opening up a leadership position in-house, like we will look at the whole company. But our primary focus is the people that have been being trained for this. And if there are multiple, then like that's when it gets a little tricky.
Yeah, 100%. And we're dealing with a lot of that right now too.
Yeah,
good things.
We have 3 open, or 2 now because we've placed 1, but 2 open leadership positions.
Yeah.
And they have multiple candidates that are inside leadership training that could be a good fit.
And the conversation we have there is, you're all qualified for those roles by going through this, but what we're looking for is in this time, who is the most qualified, right?
It's the current best fit.
Yeah. And especially when we're talking about multi-manager departments. So,
yes, which I don't think we've talked about that a lot on the show.
Yeah.
But this is exciting.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I think it's cool is like companies, we're like graduating up to the next layer, right?
Big boys now.
We're big boys. And we're like, okay, plumbing service has 2 plumbing service managers. Oh, yeah. And like HVAC's about to have 2, and plumbing install is about to have 2, and just like the team size is bigger. So I think that's kind of fun. But yeah, just wanted to explain that nuance.
Yeah, it creates that kind of complexity there because you are going to bring somebody in.
Yeah,
it's a multi-managed department, so we're looking at the strengths of the existing manager and saying, okay, do we need to duplicate that, or do we need to complement?
Is there a gap? Yeah.
And in some of the cases right now, we're seeing a need to complement those strengths where the person currently is extremely well suited for the technical side of the department, but what's needed is a stronger admin or leader side that can help with the development. So then we're looking, okay, based off the pool of people who are interviewing, great candidates, but which one fits that specific need of that development side better to complement the existing manager who's already succeeding?
Yeah.
And that's, comes to conversation and what I promise to them and what we as a leadership team are committing to that 101 class is we're going to be blatantly transparent with everybody, and we're going to have those conversations before anything's announced. We'll go through the interview process. We'll talk about it. And if you're not selected, we're going to have a really frank and open conversation as to what happened, why, and things that we could look for. Yeah, exactly. So it's not that you're just kind of left to the weeds on there, but here was the decision, and here's why, and here's how we can help get you there when that next position opens. Which I think, because of the nature of the class, people have been open to those conversations and understanding those, which is nice. But I don't think that would not have happened if we were not super transparent in the beginning as to, we're just stating the obvious, right? There are 10 people in this class. There are 3 positions open. If all of you apply, only 3 of 10 are going to fill these spots.
Yeah.
So inevitably, someone's going to get a no, and we'll talk about that, and we'll help you prepare for the next time. But everyone just has to be prepared that, like, inevitably you're going to get a no. So let's talk about that. And that's made it a lot easier to work through. They're still not easy conversations, right? Like you're someone's in that program to grow their career, and this was a no. So it's turning that no into like, okay, let's build the path to make
instead of a no, it's a not yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Still challenging no matter what. And it's hard too, because, you get to know them so much better.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a more emotional conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's sort of, what we've worked through is apprentice to tech to frontline manager.
Yeah.
Now I would say that we've also sort of seen this on the administrative side too, where hey, we have people, individual contributors come in call center or dispatch, and they've sort of worked their way into a super position. So in administrative, we have frontline, which is like call taker, dispatch, install coordination, buyer, that type of thing. And then there's a super that manages a team of up to 3, and then above supers are managers. So when how do you think about that sort of transition?
Yeah, the lead and super is kind of an interesting topic, right? Because they're still an individual contributor with additional responsibility to that. I think what becomes much more transparent there, or much more obvious, I guess I'd say, is what is their passion behind that. We have a call taker who's a great case in point, where we pushed him further than he wanted to go, right? Mm-hmm. At the time, he's excited for it. I think we kind of talked him into the conversation, but we pushed him past his limits, right? And he moved from a amazing call taker beyond that into a super role and failed at it, right? Recognized that, unfortunately, too late. Success story, ends up coming back and, again, being an amazing call center, call taker on that side.
And like earning more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like really like succeeding.
Yes.
Like genuinely just succeed, which is cool.
It was nice to see, and like,
it was awesome.
Very glad to recover that. But one of those things that I'm looking for at that point there is the passion to want it, and not necessarily me saying like, oh, hey, you're really, really good at your role, so you also obviously have to be good at leading. It's, again, that do you have a passion to lead, and do you have a passion to want to do more and take more responsibility? Because great success in your role doesn't automatically translate to great success as a leader. Mm-hmm. And I think we've seen that play out several times. So it's always just kind of like a lesson in the back of my head as we're having those conversations of just because you're great at that doesn't mean the next step is the right decision.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just answer the phone is one of those phrases that's always easier said than done. I know it was hard for me in my business because the phone always rings while you're out in the field trying to get something done, or it's 8 p.m. and you're trying to get your kids to bed. Well, I have the solution for you. I'm extremely excited today to announce Quick Staffers, your go-to solution for building a high-performing, cost-effective customer service team. We are placing CSRs who have been pre-trained on proven home service SOPs and scripts, the same ones that Wilson and I use in our business. For a limited time, we're offering $500 off your initial placement costs for the first 10 signups. See link in the description below, or head over to quickstaffers.com for more information.
So if we've had 5 people now go from somewhere inside the organization, moved up to the senior leadership team, which is one, boss as fuck.
Nice.
But how are you thinking about that? I mean, we've had a few managers promoted to directors.
Yes.
For now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on there. Mm-hmm. So like, what are you looking for when you're, promoting into a senior leadership seat? Because often they don't have the skills yet that we need. And we are not as dialed in or locked in on creating senior leaders as we are frontline leaders. And I think it'll come in time. We're just not there now.
It is 100% a weak spot. And to be honest with you, I really don't know yet, because the team who has succeeded by just sheer might. Use Allie as a great example. She was another one who just made it abundantly clear her passion was to have my job. So like, she was chasing the role I was in perpetually, which drove me to be better, which obviously she succeeded at doing.
Yeah.
So it's good, but if we're saying that that's not the best approach now, because there's not as, at the time for her, that was the perfect opportunity and she succeeded in seizing that opportunity. Is that path as clear now for somebody else who maybe has the same ambition? Probably not as clear, because the company's just grown so much. So frankly, that's something I'm still trying to understand, is to what were the keys, kind of, if you reflect back right on what she did, what were her success points? What were those key or pivotal moments that she did that was like, okay, she's ready for the next move, and trying to figure out how do we repeat that or put that into a plan.
Actually, I feel like I do kind of have it.
Oh, what you got?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah. So and this is trends. So if we're spotting trends, the people that have moved to our senior leadership team are the people who, either identified a problem or were part of a conversation with the problem and said yes to being a part of the solution consistently.
Okay.
And the people who are not yet on our senior leadership team did not do that. If we just like overarching think about that. So there's expressing interest in, hey, I want to grow my career. I want to grow myself. I want to do all this stuff. And that's good. And that's like table stakes 1. Step 2 is I see this problem and I'm going to be a part of the solution. Here's how I can help. So 4 of our directors right now, which there are 4, all did that. Every single one. When they were in leadership positions.
Yes.
So we can walk through a few of their careers, but inside fulfillment, she jumped into acquisitions. She helped with integration. She signed herself up to take on more and to solve bigger problems. And she took over departments that were struggling. Inside operations, it was the same thing. Hey, this is touching my department. I think I can do it better. Can I take over this team from over here? She's done that twice now.
Fair. Okay.
So, marketing is the same thing. Like, helped stand up a few teams and then helped monitor and absolutely taking on more and solving bigger and bigger problems every day.
So I guess my question on that one, and this is like an if, right? As the company grows, in my mind, those are opportunities they seized because they were visible to them.
Yes.
Do those problems become less visible to that level that has the opportunity to grow?
I don't think so. I actually think it even becomes more visible. So if I'm a plumber today in Wilson and I see something that I don't like, or not just like me, back to like, I can zoom out beyond just my own perspective and like, hey, this problem impacts my department. And if this problem were fixed, we would be more profitable.
Okay.
So how a lot of team members would approach that problem is kind of emotional. So they would come in, they'd hoot and sort of holler about it until somebody halfway fixes it. Because the company is so large and because there's so much going on, if someone said, hey, here's the problem, here's how I can solve it and participate, that's signing themselves up for a career accelerant. And, when I did a tweet a couple weeks ago, because this was on my brain a few weeks ago, because I think I noticed something with, as Lori was doing it. But I think when I think about the people that have been the most mobile through our organization upwards, they're solving big problems and they're assigning themselves up to solve big problems. Okay. So I think the fastest career accelerant that anyone can have in Wilson or in any business ever is, how do I find the biggest problem or the biggest opportunity and say, hey, can I help you solve that? Like, if it flops, then okay. Like, not great. Like, maybe bounce back to your old position. But if you succeed, Allie went from call taker to director in 36 months. So, like, so I'm like, changed your life. And I think there's this, I think you can accelerate by enlisting.
So I agree with that. And then maybe the next conversation there is, those happen because you and me had direct purview to them. So how do we make sure that our directors and our current managers feel empowered to allow their teams to step up as well too?
Yeah.
Because if they don't have a direct access to you and me to say, hey, I see this problem, I want to solve it.
100%.
Because we would typically be the ones to initiate that acceleration. Yeah. How do we allow directors and current managers to say, like, hey, someone on my team does want to step up, they identified something, they see it, and they want to help solve it? How do we make sure they're enabled to say yes and get them involved?
Yeah. I think that's the high potential question, the high pot question. Like, how do you encourage entrepreneurial behaviors anywhere inside the organization? And then once someone identifies them, how do you drag them?
Yeah.
From wherever they are into something useful.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting. I think that has to do something with like the way we operate our VTO, right? Like we talk about the growth trajectory of the company. We talk about what we want to be. Maybe that's something I think we can easily tie into there, because it ties in with our core values of betterment and teamwork, right? So it's, do we lean into that and really get the leadership team to understand that they have the ability to empower their team to have those conversations? We're doing it by proxy, right? Through our leadership development, this thing we just talked about where they're participating in a real life solution. How do we expand that beyond there So that's, people
Well,
can,
one potential way to do it, which could be kind of fun, is like we take the emerging leaders class. So like not apprentices typically, right? Are there some apprentices?
no.
Okay, so non-apprentices typically, but I believe that's field and administration.
Yep.
Yeah. So like pretty good scope of the company, and we're getting ready for a second cohort of another 10.
Yes.
So we'll have 20 total. What could be kind of fun is like running project style cohorts. You know, last time we had you on was like, hey, how do we build this like lethal team?
Mm-hmm.
So what if you took this team and you were like, hey, here's a problem. Let's work on it for 30 days. So like a month. And like, that's one of the sections is like, hey, we have 4 weeks where we're going to work on it. And like, we'll hit it hard.
That'd be interesting.
And like, we provide budget. So that way resource is not a constraint. So it would be like, hey, materials maybe. Like, hey, this problem, here's the depth of this problem. This problem is a $80,000 a month problem, which means you are solving $1 million problem. Like the resources that you will be provided, like we'll commit $10,000 or $20,000 over the next 30 days to solve it or 60 days to solve it.
That would be interesting.
Let's solve it. Because I think that is, because we already have the people who are interested in, and I think that's my point is like, step one is saying, hey, I want to grow.
Yeah.
Step two is identifying problems or opportunities that they can grow in.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that. I like that. That would be interesting too, because it's no longer a theory and they could actually participate in something real.
Yeah.
I think that's
I think it what's the program that like Sherwin-Williams and
like the leadership development program.
yeah, there's a name for it.
It's like management training or intern. I don't know.
But I think this is kind of how it works.
Yeah.
Where like you go in and you work on problems inside departments.
Yeah.
And you're sort of working in departments.
Yeah, they get like a 3-month stint throughout all the different
Right.
divisions.
So maybe that's year 2 of the leadership development program. So year 1 is like, here's how leadership works. And year 2 per cohort could be tactical, hands-on, or like the back half or something. Because I know it's 52 weeks, so I don't want to mess with that. But you start like solving real issues.
That would be interesting. Yeah, because then they could actually put to play all the stuff they're learning.
Yeah.
And keep it fresh.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
I know when I was in school, like for accounting, I was able to go to school on Wednesday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, and then come in the next day and like have a set of books to look at.
Yeah.
And that I think like sped it all up.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think that'd be interesting to figure out a project-based setup like that for them. Because even we could run alongside the program. It's just a way to keep reinforcing what they're doing. I was joking with you. Remember the business strategy game?
Yeah.
It's just like a way to practice what we're preaching and that kind of stuff. That would be interesting. But to actually do it inside of Wilson instead of just a game.
Yeah.
Fun.
And there's stuff that don't even need like that big of a resource.
Yeah.
Like, hey, guys, our number of reviews a week is less than we want. Here's $5,000. Like, where do we put it? How do we allocate that? Like, how do you think we solve this problem?
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, because then it would also give them a deeper understanding too of the whys behind some of that, which as still people in the field, they would be the agents of that change too. To now they understand the deep meaning behind the why review is so important.
Yep.
They're changing and making effect to that problem. They're also the change agents in the field to get everybody on board with it. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I also think it like distributes problem solving, which I think is good. Because I think if we really like break down like what is leadership and like what is moving, it's like we're solving problems at scale.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is just like how can we unbottleneck problem solving?
That I think is the next major hurdle that we or myself what we're going to solve is I'm starting to get better at the delegation of that stuff or unbottlenecking per se. That's the next tier we have to work with is our directors too on how do we further on bottleneck so they don't become me. They don't become the next pinch point for things.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of this idea because I feel like we literally just have this natively on here, but like
yeah.
But I do think that the trend is, hey, if you want to move up to frontline leadership, it is I want to grow in my career wherever you are.
Yep.
I'm an apprentice. I'm a call taker. I'm a technician. I want to grow in my career. And I'm willing to commit to that. Okay, great. We have a program to do that. And then once you're inside that program, or once you are currently a frontline leader, I want to still grow in my career. What does the next step look like? Well, great. The next step is senior managers or directors.
Yeah.
And here's what that looks like. Let's solve real problems instead of tactical day to day.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And maybe the next step after that's like P&L ownership.
Yeah.
Like
Or even
really-
subsets of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's, kind of what we're doing right now with the project is they're picking the one thing they're most passionate about. So essentially they will take some ownership over a subset inside of gross margin, whether it's labor or material. They have to pick one specific so that they're not kind of overshooting. I want them to be successful in it. So they have to pick a specific issue and tie it to one specific metric, whether it's labor or material, and then work through that problem. So
Yeah. What would have been kind of interesting, just because I can think of all these like different decisions we make every day, and it would be fun to handle this with like a group of like, here's an active thing. Like we just did a price change. Did you guys talk about that?
no,
That would have killed.
that'd be interesting. Yeah.
That would have killed.
Yeah.
Of like,
I'll do that
there-
next week.
yeah. Like, hey, here's the problem we're having.
Mhm.
Our material is now 26%, budget's 23. 4%'s a lot.
Yeah.
Our labor is 26. It's supposed to be also 23. That's a lot. Like, what do you think we should do? What are the options we have? Lay off, raise price, fire low performers. There's 5-6 options. It's not a lot. And then just like working through it, and then like, okay, well, what we chose was price increase.
Mhm.
How do we do that? And how do we drill that in? How do we train it? How do we roll it out? So I feel like there's a lot. I almost feel like you could take sections of our senior leadership, L10, and like, hey, we missed on this metric. So we missed on labor, we missed on materials, we missed on reviews. Like we missed somewhere.
Mhm.
Let's make that
That's
a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like make sure that program is as transparent as possible too, so they understand the why, and it's not just a, hey, do this because this is what you were taught type of thing, but
Yeah.
understand the true why are we
critical
doing
thing.
this?
Yep.
What is the reason behind it, and what was the logic on the decision that was made? So I think that would help
Yeah.
like deepen that understanding. So
Fascinating. This was a good discussion, I feel like, for our own team of just how to move through the organization. And I think the big thing is like, if you're looking for opportunity, like we have it.
Yeah.
So reach out to your direct. Like there's
have the
sort of
conversation.
seats everywhere. You can be pretty mobile horizontally. You can be pretty mobile vertically.
Mhm.
That's a big opportunity now.
Yeah, the single biggest failure point I see is people who have that conversation. It always sucks because it's too late, but you hear it in the exit interview, and it's, I wanted more and I didn't get there. And it's never really like I didn't know how. It's just like it wasn't there. They didn't see it. So it's, yeah, that's the single thing I can say is just ask, have the conversation. If you're interested in it, talk to somebody about it, because
Yeah.
we don't know until you say it.
Yeah.
We can help you get there, and you just gotta let it be known that that's a desire.
Yeah, I think a few ways I think I know I'm working on like cleaning that up is one, here's the where we're going wall. I also think being much more transparent with our 12-month org chart wall.
Yeah.
Like, hey, 12 months from now, this is the org chart that we see.
Yeah.
And I think that will provide
Yeah.
more insight.
Yeah, especially how much the team's grown. There's not folks who have been here, maybe a year or even 2 years. They weren't part of the explosion in the very beginning, so they don't understand how fast we're growing because they're just jumping in the middle of it.
Yeah,
So
they're
they
coming
may
in
not
with
see-
150 people.
Yeah,
They're like, oh, we're at 160 now.
yeah. They don't see that there is true opportunity there because they
Yeah.
didn't witness it.
Right.
But as we prep for the next stage, multi-location, it's those opportunities represent themselves in large numbers.
Mhm.
So just be willing
Even
to
just
jump in.
continuing organic.
Yeah.
Like 3 new leadership, 4 because warehouse.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
Mhm.
That's a lot.
I don't know that they're as clear then, which is exactly what you're trying to solve. with
A
the
new
org chart.
super in call center too, so that's 5. So yeah, it's really not transparent. So that's something I'll work on after
Yeah.
this. But just like, hey, here's our 12-month
Yeah.
org chart. Here's what we think it looks like. Start, because I think that also will start like, okay, here's all the different seats.
Mhm.
I kind of want to be over there. I kind of want to be over there. I feel like what would be really interesting, I don't know how to pull this off in a way that's like transparent and like effective, because I think you can do it transparent, but I think it can be really ineffective.
Yeah.
Is like rough compensation ranges by seat. That way they understand where they can grow and what compensation, like what does it look like once you're there.
Yeah, I would agree. Because again, like we said, is if their passions are other than just career development, or maybe it's both, they should understand, what does that look like? What does a career look like? What does a comp look like? Understanding, if you're going to make an active decision to grow and push towards something, what is the end result?
Yeah. Fascinating. Good topic.
Yeah.
This is good. If I think we'll do a wrap up. So, any quick tips on this is something that came up a lot years ago in a few of the group chats I'm in, but like creating a leadership development program, which you have now done. You did an amazing job of it. I can't even say you did a great job of it. What's the quick tip here on how to do that? Because I don't even think that was Nexstar or no. It was maybe some flavors, but we did it.
Yeah.
That one I said we.
Nice. Honestly, this is the first cohort we're going through. So we're actively learning and adjusting as we go.
On this podcast, we just added a second year.
To it. And hold on for 2 weeks to it. The big thing is I think that I've learned so far is the program has to, it's great. You can learn about Wilson. You can learn about your specific company. You can learn about some of the stuff, but you have to go back to the 101s. And I had to take a lot of time and a lot of input from other people on things that maybe I just took for granted or things that I thought were just 101s that actually aren't. Yeah. And you truly need to explain those. Yeah. So just take it another step further than you think you need to go. Yeah. If you're going to have a conversation about 101s, you need to take it a step further back and understand why do 101s happen in the emotional intelligence conversations behind that when the topics inevitably come up in it that you have to address. You can't just be 101s, here's why they're important and here's how you do them. Let's talk about what's the emotional intelligence behind them. Mm-hmm. So just every topic that you think you need to cover, whether it's with your existing leadership team or someone who's preparing to move into leadership for the first time, just go another step further. Mm-hmm. Make it truly understanding of how to operate those, because what you don't want and what I'm really trying to avoid with our team is to give them that false sense of reality that they are prepared and that they end up flopping right when they get into that first crucial conversation. I want you to really understand how to navigate those. So when you have the first one, you're successful and that builds your confidence, right? That's why the class, when we first started it, I think the very first layout I did was only 16 weeks. And then I started getting input from everybody, and then it blossomed into just a hair over a year. Yeah. We got it shrunk down to a year on the dot. But that was a big kind of aha moment for me. Was I took a lot of things for granted that I've known for long enough that I just forgot they're second nature to me. They are not going to be for others. And if you're in the position where you're actively going to start making a leadership program like this, there's going to be things that you take for granted. Yeah. So just think further back onto the first time you were in a management role or leadership role. What are the things that you wish you would have known then that are now just second nature?
It's just how you do it. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good perspective. Awesome. If you like what you've heard, make sure you like and subscribe and check out ownedandoperated.com. We do have our next workshop coming up. It's in August, ownedandoperated.com/workshop. Thanks.